What's up, guys? Welcome back to Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho. Thank you so much for watching. And guys, today we are breaking down the Green Bay Packers draft class, and I'm going to do my best, all right? Among all of the Aaron Rodgers stuff, I'm going to do my best not to bring it up, all right? We're just talking draft here today, all right? Aaron Rodgers wasn't a part of the draft. We don't need to talk about it. I'm going to do my best for every Packers fan watching. Just take a sigh of relief. I'm not going to shit on you because of the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. I'm not. This is a nice, peaceful video. You don't have to stress out or anything, although I'm not going to lie to you. This isn't like my favorite draft class either, so be prepared for some critiques here and there. But other than that, let's get into it. Let's talk about their draft class as a whole. Where they were able to bring in an Eric Stokes in the first round. Kind of, they do need to they need help at the cornerback position. Kevin King struggled last year. Really, I would say in a lot of ways cost them the game against Tampa Bay in the NFC Championship. Not the only reason they lost, but certainly a big part of it. They do have Jair Alexander on the other side, so they really just need a cornerback too. Eric Stokes might be the answer there. Grab a center. They needed to replace the center they lost in the offseason, so that was a good move. And then finally draft a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers on day 2 and Amari Rodgers. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to break down all the players that go in the first 3 rounds, so I'm going to talk about him a little bit later on. I have mixed views on Amari Rodgers, but beyond their first 3 rounds, not a lot of names, I'll be honest, I'm very aware of. Like, just looking at it, I know about Kylan Hill, and I did a draft profile on a Kylan Hill running back in the 7th round, which I think was his range. I mean, he was one of the last picks taken, and we'll see what happens with him. Kind of crazy that he went running back again, but I don't need to go there with last year's class. But overall, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know a lot of these names. I knew all the guys that were drafted in the first 3 rounds, and then after that, it's just interesting to see where they go. Just got a bunch of lottery tickets, and we'll see how the back end of this draft ends up working out. I have no real reference for that, and I'm not going to pretend to know about something I don't know. That's not my style. Moving on to the first 3 rounds. First round, 29 overall. They do take an Eric Stokes, and I'll be honest with you, I did not think that it would be Eric Stokes in the first round. Really, I thought his teammate Tyson Campbell at Georgia was the better corner, but I definitely understand Eric Stokes. Just he's got that size and length there, good speed and quickness combo. He's an athlete, man. He's a physical specimen. I thought he was a little bit raw from just like a technique and instincts perspective. I'll be honest, I don't know, I don't have like deep dive info on Eric Stokes. Just from watching the film, I got the feeling that, okay, this is a wide receiver that transitioned to corner because he thought he'd have a better chance in the NFL. And hey, that was a good call. Ends up being a first-round pick. And listen, has a ton of potential. I will say I did have some better guys on the board, at least the way the cornerback board fell for me. I thought Asante Samuel, I thought Tyson Campbell, both were better prospects. But I definitely get it. I certainly get taking Eric Stokes over Asante Samuel. I certainly understand the higher ceiling, I guess I would say. And I definitely understand the upside of Eric Stokes, and it just is what it is. I certainly did think, not the best corner on the board from where they were picking, but I get it. But moving on to their 2nd round pick, they go ahead and get a center out of Iowa State. This is a guy I thought had an outside chance of going first, right? I didn't really think he would go first, but I thought he was one of the better centers in this class, and I thought there was just a small itty bitty chance of him going first round, and obviously fell all the way to the back end of the 2nd. Really good pick for the Packers. Experience. He's a big dude. He's built like a barn. He's just a physically gifted human being. Very good run blocker, which I think is what the Packers are trying to do. They want to be a run-first football team. Definitely needs to improve in pass sets, but again, as a center, at the end of the day, I want my center just to be physical, big, strong hulk of a man, right? And that's what we got here. Certainly think he has starting potential. They plugged a kind of a hole that they had in the center position, and hopefully he's a plug and play, start from day one type of guy. I think that was a good pick. Certainly good value there for the guy they got. And then in the 3rd round, they actually trade up. I'm going to throw up the trade details here for a second. They trade up into the 3rd round to grab an Amari Rodgers. They give up, the 92 overall pick. So they trade up 7 spots in the 3rd round and also give up a 4th round pick. Not great trade value, I'll be honest with you. Just to move up 7 picks in the 3rd round specifically, that's not worth, I don't think, a 4th. Maybe like a 5th, maybe a 4th, and you get back a 6th or something. But just a 4th overall, that was a really good trade for the Titans. And they were, I think, reaching on a wide receiver. They must have felt like Amari Rodgers was the last guy in their tier break, and they had to go get him before somebody else did. Now, I'll be honest, he wouldn't have been in my book. I had better guys that were on the board at that point, and I'm not going to really get into that because that's getting into the weeds. And at this range in the draft, it's like, it's kind of whatever you're looking for. Amari Rodgers is going to be like that slot receiver who kind of has like a running back build, plays like a running back a little bit. And really, like, my big issue with Amari Rodgers had nothing to do with him. The way he was used in that Clemson scheme, he saw a lot of zone coverage. He was really good at just finding the soft spot in the zone, and he had great yards after catch ability. But I struggled just from my personal assessment of Amari Rodgers. I really struggled with him. I couldn't get a good feel of, okay, is this a route runner? Like, how explosive is he before he gets the ball in his hands? Because that's important. I felt like there was it was just average route running. It was nothing special from what I saw. So I definitely I looked at him as a guy that I did think was going to go day 3. I thought he was like a 4th to 5th round guy, and with a lot of upside. I certainly get what the Packers saw, but he was a tough eval for me, and I'm just like, I have questions. I guess I'll put it that way. I certainly have questions. But let's move on to my best and worst move for the Packers in this draft. My best move was grabbing a Josh Myers in the second round. They stayed patient. I think they were sitting there in the back of the second round. There were 2 centers that were on the board, Josh Myers and Creed Humphreys. They were both falling, and they had their pick of both of them. Creed Humphreys ends up going 1 pick later to the Chiefs, right? So both of them back into the second round centers, and I really think both those guys are plug and play guys. But for Josh Myers specifically, he's going to come in. He's going to replace a Corey Linsley, who they lost in free agency this past offseason. He's a big time center that they had to make the decision on where to put their money in that offensive line. They were able to find a replacement in the second round. I think that's a plug and play type of move, and we'll see to what level he ends up replacing a Corey Linsley. But I do believe he's going to be proficient there at that position. And then my worst move, it's not taking Amari Rodgers in the 3rd, but it's trading up in the 3rd, giving up a 3rd and 4th round pick to move up 7 spots to grab a Amari Rodgers, who, at least for my board, I certainly wasn't sitting there. And even going back and looking at the picks, I didn't think there was like a clear and obvious, this team was definitely going to take a Amari Rodgers. I didn't get that sense. I don't understand. Like, obviously they might know something that I don't know. That's very, very possible, like likely even. But beyond that, I didn't get the move. Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me as far as the trade up. I get, hey, if Amari Rodgers was your guy, I'm not going to hate on that. He wasn't my guy, but if he was your guy, that's totally fine. But to trade up, there was enough wide receivers in this class that to me, I don't know how you looked at the guys that were available in that range to think that there was enough of a tier break to have to make that move. I just didn't get that. That's just my take. That's my 2 cents on it. And hey, let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, what you think about that. But moving on to my grades, I do my grades a little bit differently. I break it down into players, just my assessment of the players they got, draft value on all their picks and trades and things like that, and then needs. All right. So first of all, players, I'm giving this a D+. I'm just, none of these guys were my guys. Josh Myers was a fine pick in the second round. I mentioned that a handful of times already. But Eric Stokes, I thought there was better options there at the cornerback position. I thought Eric Stokes, for me watching him, just from his film review, I did not get first round vibes at all. And it's funny because we did a live stream for the first round of the draft. We made like 50 plus graphics for every guy. And really, you have the 20 guys that is going first round. And then it's like, we made like 30, 40 graphics for just those last like 12 picks where you just never know, like, okay, who's going to go first round. It's always kind of random, right? So Eric Stokes was the last player that I did. And I only did it because my podcast host and the guy who I did the stream with, Jacob Waters, he's like, man, there's a lot of talk about him possibly going first. You gotta make the graphic. We gotta do that real quick before the stream. So he did it, and obviously it was useful. I'm glad we made that graphic. But again, that just speaks to, I did not see him as a first round guy. I really didn't even see him as a top 50 guy. I just didn't. That was not my value for him. And then obviously I mentioned Amari Rodgers wouldn't have been my pick there. So yeah, that's why, like, the players that they got, I was underwhelmed, just to say the least. Draft value, I'm giving that a C+. I thought the trade up in the third round, that knocked it down a little bit. I did think Eric Stokes was a reach, as I mentioned. So for me, again, kind of draft value, I didn't love that either. So yeah, there were some issues there. The reason it's not lower is because, hey, I think they did a really good job in the second round with a Josh Myers. I think they did a really good job with some of the complementary pieces they got later in the draft, right? So there's things to like for sure, but some of the bigger moves that they made, I wasn't impressed with and I wasn't a fan of. So that's why, very, passing grade, but not by much. And then needs, look, you got an A+. They went out and they targeted their needs. And who gives a shit at the end of the day what I think, all right? At the end of the day, these franchises, they should know more than what I know. And, sometimes I wonder, but for the most part, like, hey, Eric Stokes was their guy. Get him in the first round. Good. Check. You needed a cornerback too on that team. What else did you need? You lost your star center. You needed another one. Check. Got that in the second round. Okay, well, what else do you need? Yeah, you need another wide receiver because, Devontae Adams is awesome, but you can't do it by himself. You need another wide receiver. Okay, we need another wide receiver. Let's get an Amari Rodgers third. They hit their biggest needs in the first 3 rounds, right? And whether or not, like, I love the value or I think there were some reaches there, who cares? At the end of the day, they got their guys. They're probably pretty happy with the picks that they got. And, I mean, they covered their needs. So if this was a successful draft, all these guys are going to be starters, are going to be contributors. Huge win. Huge win because you got better if that's the case. All right. And I still have questions about that, but at the end of the day, who cares what I think? They came out of this draft filling some holes, and that's kind of the biggest thing you can ask for in the NFL draft, right? All right, guys. Hey, that's all I have. Packers fans, let me know what you think. I know I was kind of hard on your draft here. I always hate doing that, but I'm doing this for every team, and you can't just love every pick, right? You can't love every draft, and just didn't fall this way for the Packers for me. Let me know what you think. Tell me why I'm wrong. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content in general, draft content, NFL content, stuff like that. I'm a growing channel. Been growing a lot in the past couple months, so I really would appreciate the sub and follow the journey with me, guys, because I think we're putting out some pretty good stuff here, and I think we're just going to keep growing every day. But all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.